The reigning champs are on the ropes with their arch-enemies circling for the knockout blow. The Melbourne Boomers must find a way to unlock their game and get over the Southside Flyers to keep their title defence alive. But the Flyers have had Melbourne's number in all 4 meetings this season. Their aggressive, in-your-face style stifling the free-flowing Boomers. But the champs are a proud group with something to prove. It's do or die for Melbourne as they host Southside at a packed-out Boombox in Game 2 of the Cygnett WNBL semi-finals.
Alongside Kelsey Griffin, Mark Alabakov. And Mark, let's start with Southside. They've had the wood over the Boomers, 4 from 4. What is it about them that they've got over Melbourne right now?
Well, I think they match up the best in terms of the talent level, the athleticism and the IQ, especially to the 3 main stars of the Melbourne Boomers. So Kayla George, Christy Wallace and even Tiff Mitchell. If you remove that 36-point game that she had last start, all 3 of those athletes have averaged 7 points below their individual season averages. So Southside does a great job of defending them.
Sometimes, Kelsey, it is just about the matchup. Some teams match up well against others. So they haven't been able to unlock the Southside puzzle yet, Melbourne, but they know tonight they have to. They have to or their season is over. What's their mindset?
Well, you know, they have won. A lot of people on this team have won championships before, so they know what's at stake. But I think they can actually get a lot of confidence from last game, considering they actually won the final 2 quarters of that game. And they know that it was actually not that big of a margin. And so if they just had a few more possessions go their way, a few more subtle changes, it actually could have been a different outcome. So I reckon they're actually taking a bit of confidence from it.
They trailed rather by as much as 18 points midway through the second term. They came storming back thanks to Tiff Mitchell, got within 2 points before the Flyers steadied late to run out 84 76-point winners. All 5 starters for the Flyers, Mark, finishing in double figures compared to Tiff Mitchell, who was absolutely outstanding, but the Flyers just spread the load so well.
They really do, and the depth and balance of that lineup, it lends itself to the way that they play. They play fast in transition, they execute beautifully with their spacing. Everyone shares the load and anyone can carry the team for different patches. They've got match winners all over the court, especially we've seen the rise of Beck Cole recently, and Blitzarves has had her 41-point game was against the Boomers, so she can get off as well.
Just 2 points for Christy Wallace in that Game 1 situation. Now she went 0 from 11. She knows that Southside are going to come at them hard again.
Plays for the Opals, will probably continue to play for the Opals for some time. She has what it takes. So I think it's reminding her of that and just what a special talent she is. I also think it's reminding her that she is very new into her WNBL journey. You know, this is only her 2nd season back after 2 ACLs. You're allowed to have a bad game, but that doesn't define you. And lastly, I would break down some serious film. You know, Southside's put a lot of emphasis on their defense this season, but like all defenses, there are definitely weaknesses. So show her how she can attack and how she can get her teammates involved.
Let's bring in the 4th member of our commentary team this evening. Candy Hertz is courtside. And Candy, the only potential negative from Game 1 for the Flyers was that ankle injury to Kayla Thornton. What's her status tonight?
Yeah, Kayla was here hours before the game. She was trying everything with the medic team and her doctors as well to try and see if she could be a match day fitness test. If she could pass it, she was going to be on court. Unfortunately, she's in too much pain and the call has been made just a half an hour ago that she will not be suiting up tonight. So they will be without their star in court. Like you said, Kels, it wasn't a great game last game for George and Wallace, but speaking to the team today, they said that's okay. All that's done is fuel that energy and that desire for them to prove that they've got what it takes to get the win tonight. Now, as you can hear, we are at the boombox. It is the chance for Melbourne to finally have their chance at a home game. That nervous energy in game one has gone. There is a real calm between both teams tonight. It'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. No doubt this crowd, as you can hear now, are going to be doing everything they can to get their team the win.
Thanks, Candy. Looking forward to your comments from courtside. No Kayla Thornton. We'll talk about the significance of that in a moment. But first, Kels, our keys to the game for the Melbourne Boomers tonight. What are they going to do to keep their title defence alive?
Well, what was really interesting for me in their last 4 matchups is that Southside's actually won the battle of free throws. So they've shot almost 10 more free throws a game. So I think it's limiting that or actually winning that. Also, points off turnovers. Melbourne gives up almost 5 to 6 points per game more off points off turnovers. If they can limit that or win that, again, we're looking at potentially a 12-point swing that's possible there. And then transition defense. Make Southside play in the half court, get through their sets, get through offenses, don't let them get up and down. And I think it could go a different way.
Mark, the Flyers have won 7 of their last 9. Beaten Melbourne 4 times, as we said. What have been the keys to that?
Well, pressure and containing. So you've got to pressure Kayla George. She's a league MVP. She's a fantastic three-point shooter. She's second in the league for made three-pointers. You've got to make her put the ball to the floor. A lot of her assists don't come off the dribble. And then you've got to contain Tiff Mitchell and Christy Wallace. Like, easier said than done. They do a fantastic job getting to the rim and playing in the mid-range. You've got to play between them and challenge them to shoot over you. And then for the Flyers, playing inside and out, they push the ball in transition. They do a great job, as Kelsey mentioned, of getting to the free throw line. So in the 4 matches that the teams have played, Wallace, Mitchell and Nelson Adota have fouled out twice and had 4 fouls each in another outfit. So being able to push the ball inside and then get it out and look at the three-point shot is going to be a challenge, you know, that they'll have to overcome. And then relentless possession play. So being able to compete on the O glass and force the fatigue to be an impact for the Boomers.
So here we go. Melbourne's title defence hangs in the balance. The Boomers facing a must-win game 2 to keep this semi-final series alive. Can the reigning champs answer the bell? Let's find out. The boombox packed, as you can see. Great crowd still coming in. And we are set to go. Southside and Melbourne go at it again. And it'll be the Boomers with first possession through Mia Murray. All eyes on Christy Wallace in this one. And Kayla George. Here's Mitchell. Can she start how she finished? Ball in dispute. Cole. Early foul.
That's not how Melbourne would want to be starting the game with a foul, but I do think that was a great set call. See if they can get Tiff Mitchell going from the perimeter and see if she could keep that shooting prowess happening from the previous game.
Wallace versus Rochi and Conti. Fantastic to watch. They're going to go at it again tonight. Here's Poch getting just her second start in the WNBL. Couldn't call it back in. Nelson Adota off to Wallace.
You can see Wally's definitely wanting to slow down the pace of the game. That'll definitely play into Melbourne's advantage.
George gets rid of Rochi and finishes. First points, Melbourne. Rochi to Bishop. Poch cuts. Here's Cole. Now Blitzarves. Puts it on the floor. Blows past Nelson Adota, but George gets a hand in. Wallace, Rochi. Down goes Maddie. Called for the foul.
Ooh, and that looked like Maddie might have got knocked in the breadbasket. Got her wind knocked out of her, potentially.
That's another look. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, she had to come across and help. I mean, you can't allow Christy Wallace to get the ball with space. She does a great job of turning on the jets and being able to hit top speed really, really quickly, and that puts a whole lot of stress on your defense in transition.
So no Kayla Thornton for the Southside Flyers. Mark, Kelsey, immediately what does that do to matchups and the dimension and complexion of the game?
Well, I feel like Kayla Thornton has done a really great job defensively against Kayla George. That's definitely been an impact player for them on the defensive end. What I liked was the automatic adjustment from the Boomers. They went for Kayla, so they went Tiff Mitchell first play. Second play was an inside low block touch for Kayla George, and I think that's already seeing the absence of Kayla Thornton in the game, but the recognition of the Boomers coaching staff saying we're going inside and going to get Kayla going.
Yeah, and it puts the stress back on the Flyers to be able to get stops. I mean, Poch is a fantastic junior athlete who's come through the system and had a tremendous season in her rookie year in the WNBL. But she's going to have her work cut out for her dealing with Tiff Mitchell, especially coming off the confidence that she'll carry through from game 1. She's going to have a whole lot of pressure to try and stop her.
So Maddie Rochi being attended to by the medicos.
And Maddie Rocci's tough. So for Maddie Rocci to be getting pulled out of the game, you know, she's definitely got hit hard.
Candy will keep us updated shortly. Wallace, George. Here's Mia Murray in the corner. Mitchell comes up with the O-board, keeps it alive for Melbourne. George will go herself. Early touch, early basket for Kayla. Good start here for Melbourne.
And this is the response we were expecting from Kayla and from the Boomers. We know they're a very tough team at home, and credit to them. Great ball movement, extra possession. Kayla doing what she's done all season.
So some adjustments required early here for Southside. They've lost Thornton from their starting five, and now they've lost Rocci as well. Nelson Adoda to Wallace. Back to Nelson Adoda, and now Murray. Back inside to Olivia, sets up from the free throw line. Rattles out. Boomers getting some good looks early. Conti into the game, of course, for Rocci. Can't finish on this occasion.
They just look a little sped up and a tiny bit out of sync on the offensive end. They need that first basket to go down.
And a good settler now marked for Christy Wallace and Kayla George. An early basket for both. Good start here for Melbourne.
Absolutely, and I think there was a great push there. You know, wasn't that they have to play in the half court all the time offensively. I think that was great recognition. There was opportunity to run. They did, got an easy basket, and getting a good mix of inside and outside looks.
So game number 340 for Mia Murray. She so wants it to not be her last. She spoke to us before the game.
Final MVP. More than anyone, you know how to get it done. What's needed from the Boomers today?
Yeah, look, obviously it's a huge game in the grand scheme of things, but bearing that in mind, not being too overawed by the moment, and you know, really being disciplined with our scout and limiting turnovers, I think that's going to help us.
And what's the overall feeling in the team today?
We're feeling pretty good, yeah. It's do or die, so obviously if we're not playing hard today, then we probably don't deserve to go any further. So I think everyone's going to be playing for each other.
And Mia, you've announced your retirement. Congratulations. There is a chance then, of course, that this could be the very last time that you play on a WNBL court. How does that leave you feeling today?
Haven't thought about it like that, so I'm hoping that today is not my final game and just concentrating on it like it's a do or die semi-final.
Thanks to Mia Murray. The Boomers could not have had a better start. They lead by 7 after 2 and a bit minutes in game 2 of this best-of-3 series. A whistle off the ball, offensive foul as Mitchell hits the floor. Well, we knew this one was going to be fiery and physical, and it has been early.
It really has been. I'd love to see that play again. Here we can see, kind of shaded by Nelson Adoda there. Wasn't able to actually see the contact, but like you said, definitely a physical game early. Both teams know exactly what's on the line.
So Fowler and Abby Bishop, and without Kayla Thornton in the lineup, they're just a little vulnerable for talls Southside if they get into foul trouble. Let's go courtside. Here's Candy.
I have to be honest, team, it is so loud in the boombox tonight. I'm going to do my best to listen in on these timeouts, but I'm probably going to catch every second word. Cheryl did talk about switching and to make sure they keep talking. I will say as well, I don't have an update yet on Rocci. She was crying her eyes out, so she must be in so much pain. And there was a look of concern on the entire bench's face. They're a bit torn whether to check in on her or to keep their eyes on the game. Cheryl
Chambers calling for a travel call in the background. Wasn't forthcoming.
That was interesting change up from Cheryl out of that timeout. They came out with flyers in a zone to try to, I think, stem some of the bleeding from the offensive load that Melbourne's had, but unfortunately for them, ended up in a foul call.
George versus Blitzarves, two great friends. Played with and against each other for a very long time. Here's Mitchell. Full of class as always, and the Boomers have the first 9 points, and Mitchell knocks it away from Blitzarves. Well, Mark, starts don't get much better than this when you're one game down in a series.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the way that the Melbourne Boomers would have wanted to respond. They've done a great job of executing. So they've got the 2 assists on the board already. They've got 2 baskets to Kayla George. They've got Christy Wallace going. That'll get their confidence on a high for this do-or-die challenge that they've got ahead of them.
The shot's just not quite dropping for the Flyers at the moment, as they didn't for the Boomers in game 1. Can Conti end that run? She can't. So 0 for 6, the Flyers at the moment. Nelson Adoda takes position against Potch. Well done by the youngster. 2 youngsters, really, but the younger of the 2. There's Nadia to Bishop. Flyers need a settler here, just to get their feet back underneath them and get into the game. Conti, Potch, sideline and out. And can't momentum change quickly?
It really can. I mean, and those are two huge outs for Flyers, Thornton and Rocci, who've been key to their success all season long, but they do just look a little bit lost, like they're running through offense to get through it and not necessarily looking at how they can be aggressive. But they know what's on the line. They'll definitely step up. I have no doubt Southside will figure it out.
Walsh's shot won't go. Bishop, Conti. He's Cole, so good in game one. Back to Abby Bishop. Wants to put it on the floor against Nelson Adoda. Works to position, draws a foul.
And that'll help, getting on the free throw line, just to settle the nerves a little bit, see the scoreboard tick over. And as Kels alluded to, they look out of sync, but they look rushed as well. This is not the Southside Flyers tempo of ball game that they want to play when they're in the half court.
Here's the upside, make these 2 free throws. It's still only a 7-point game, so no critical damage done.
That's it. And you know, Southside does have a lot of really good individual talent, but with Rocci out, who's going to be that facilitator that collapses the defense and then gets open shots for their perimeter players? So they're going a lot of one-on-one at the moment, which will be into the Boomers' favor. So I'll be interested to see if they can actually start creating for each other.
2 important free throws from the veteran. Bishop makes them both. It's a 7-point game. Offensive foul. Well, there was plenty of commentary on social media about the number of fouls that were called in game 1 of this series, and we're seeing plenty of whistle early in game 2 as well.
Yeah, a lot of moving screen calls, actually. So that must have been something that was addressed in between the 2 games and something the players will have to address or adjust to. But it is finals basketball, and like Jenny Screen said in game 1, we do like to see physical, hard-fought basketball because that's what finals is.
Bishop thought about the pass inside to Blitzarves. Now off to Conti. On, steps through a bit of traffic to Cole. They need it, and she delivers it. Huge basket for the Flyers.
She's come up big this past month of basketball for her. We've seen the Beck Cole of old. A fantastic 3-point shot just when they've needed it off the back of some great execution.
Nina Davidson getting some early minutes here. Mitchell and Wallace, will they combine? Christie was looking for Tiff. Will go there now. She's got Conti to deal with. And deal with it she does.
And that's just smart basketball. It's attacking mismatches. Tiff Mitchell on the low block against Conti.
And then throws it into the back of Cole. And they turn it over again. Let's head courtside, Candy.
Good news is Rocci was winded and in a bit of pain, but she's back here and ready to get back on the court.
Can't come soon enough for the Flyers. Should be desperate to get back into the action. They trail by 6. Midway through the opening term, it's already been an eventful one. Davidson! And when Panini's shooting them from long range, you know the Boomers are on.
Mia was not lying about them being locked in and knowing what's at stake.
Just her second 3-pointer of the season for Panina. She's 2 for 3 now from long range. Here's Mitchell. Gets the turnover. Will take Blitzarves on. Reaching foul on Carly Ernst.
And you can see the defensive schemes from Melbourne are really cleaned up. In game 1, they looked a bit unsure about what they were doing at times, if they were in the zone, if they were not in the zone, if they were where they were rotating. But you can tell that there's great communication, lots of people pointing at each other. They know what they're doing. Very locked in defensively.
Eddie Rocci back into the game. A little low 5 there between Rocci and Wallace. George, Davidson, Christie wraps around, gets to a spot she likes. Boomers looking slick, Mark.
And that's her game right there, being able to play in the mid-range. She's exceptional at being able to go off the bounce and stop on a dime and elevate.
Bishop to Cole. And it's to Blitzarves. Now Bishop versus Davidson. Bounce pass through to Cole. Not this time for Beck, but still alive. Ernst in there. Mitchell controls it. And away comes Tiff Mitchell. 36 points in game 1. Feeds Mia Murray from the corner. Not quite dropping for Mia so far tonight. Getting some looks though.
But that's okay, because as long as she's staying aggressive, they're going to have to keep guarding her, and that creates space for other players.
Rocci. Blitzarves is good. A couple of the veterans stepping up for the Flyers, keeping them in touch, withstanding this early storm from Melbourne. Margin at 9. George to Wallace, back to Kayla, wrap-around pass, Penina, difficult shot, and she makes it.
And that's huge. Those finishes weren't what they were making in game one. Those are so important.
Blitzarves from the other corner, not this time.
And this is the rushed stuff, so this is making the play that you want rather than the one that you see. You've got to be able to hold your nerve and be able to manage the scoreline a little bit. They've done their best on the offensive side of the floor when they've executed within the half court, the Flyers.
George for three. What a start here from Melbourne. The champs are answering the bell. They lead by 14.
There's not much more Abby Bishop could have done in challenging that shot. That was just better offense.
Cole to Rochi. The Flyers love a scrap. They've got one here tonight. Maddie can't quite finish. It spills to Wallace. No timeouts yet from Cheryl Chambers. Christie to Mia Murray. Back to Wallace. They take a bit of time, get it through some hands. Mitchell spins, feeds Davidson, and Panina's got 7 points.
And that poise. So they pushed the ball in transition, realized nothing was on, got the ball through hands. They probably could have taken some shots early on, but they actually worked to get the best shot possible.
Put that in context, Penina averaging 5 points a game this season. She's already got 7 in the first term. George to Mitchell. Things a little out of control right now for Southside. Tiff misses the open shot. And chance now off the leg of Wallace. If you're Cheryl Chambers right now, Mark, the situation is just getting a little out of control. Margin sits at 16. What's your instructions?
Well, I think you've got to do a better job of executing in the half court. You've probably got to narrow your thinking to maybe 1 to 3 pet sets that your team is comfortable with to create the types of shot for the right types of people. I think getting Beck Cole on the move and then into some driving or pick and roll action can be tough to deal with.
Beautiful finish from Poch.
Great response for the young player. I think, like Mark said, it's creating for each other. If they go one-on-one all night, it's going to be a very long night for Southside.
Mitchell receives from Davidson, sets up herself. Away comes Cole. Leilani Mitchell into the game now for Melbourne. Cole pulls up, it's short, front iron. Ernst there to put it back in.
And that's a second chance point, so they've got so much size on the floor. If they can get that size at the point of the rim, whether that's rim running or contesting the O glass, the taller players don't get smaller as the game goes on.
So Mitchell and Wallace on the floor all at once here for Melbourne. Here's Christie. Kayla flips it out. It's taken by Maddie Rochi. Poch. Mitchell did just enough.
That's that veteran IQ, quick hands, being able to stop that play.
Deep three from Kayla, and she was walking before it even hit the rim.
Kayla's open anytime she steps over the halfway line. You've got to get a hand up.
She's got 11 points. What a response from the skipper. Rochi steps back, wants Blitzarves over the top. Wallace does enough to contend, but in the process gives away a foul. So 31 seconds left in the opening term. The Boomers have exploded for 26 points. Kelsey Griffin, Mark Alabakov, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's been a bit of a disrupted start. I think we wouldn't be giving credit to the big outs that have happened in this first quarter, but a ton of credit to Melbourne. You know, they weren't happy with the narrative of what happened in the first game, and they've changed. They've made adjustments.
Blitzarves. Well done, Ernst. Big board. Important points. Can't come up with them. Davidson. Leilani to Tiff Mitchell. And now they'll hold it up. Just 1 second between shot and game clock here. Kayla says, hold it up, forget it. I'm going for it. But it opens an opportunity at the other end, but Mitchell cuts it off. Needs an option. Whistle goes. Ernst in discussion with the referee. 2.7 seconds left on the clock. Carly doesn't like the call. Here's another look. Called for the hit on George in the background, just jostling for space under the hoop. Kayla to the line, flies in the bonus. A chance to extend this lead. Off Davidson and out, so 2 seconds left for the Flyers to try and finish with a bang.
catch and shoot for Conti. Has the foul been called right there? Just hold the music, folks. A foul called in the final split second of the quarter will send Mon Conti to the line to shoot 2. Tiff Mitchell can't believe it. Mark Alabakov, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, being able to hit these has become really important. That's just unnecessary to go to her body there. Just run to a spot in front of Conti and raise your hands up. Force that shot from the smaller Conti to have to be over the outstretched arms. But where you run at her body, then you become susceptible to a 50-50 call, and in this instance, it's gone against Tiff Mitchell.
So a chance for Conti to reduce this margin. She makes them both. What an opening term from the reigning champs. They explode out of the blocks. As Rochi knocks it away with 1/100th of a second left on the clock. It's the longest last second of a quarter I can remember. Went for about 3 minutes. Quarter time. What a start from the Boomers. They've jumped out of the blocks. 27 points in the opening term. They lead it by 14 in game 2. Melbourne 27, Southside 13.
As much as we can.
Do you want me to stay up down?
Yeah, and then get on the oak glass with the shots there.
I'll be this one and I'll throw it. If you want to have a shot, I'm going to use it.
All right, okay.
Stuff's good though as well. Yeah.
Hey, listen. You got one. Yeah, one. Guys, 3 stops here. Let's go.
In context of the game, they can't stay in front of us. So 5 down is good here. Next play, I want to go cut a 4 and let's see if you can take. You're our 4-person. So Naj, you start up and you do your normal job. Coley, set the screen. Get through. If you don't have anything, plant your feet. Come behind her. Okay, let's just peg it back. Peg it back a little bit at a time. Southside by yes, here we go. Sarah. George.
Quarter time at the Boombox. We're expecting a response from the reigning champions after they dropped game 1 of the series, and the Melbourne Boomers have come out and hit 27 points in the opening term to lead by 14 as we start the second term in Parkville. Maddie Rochi back into the game. Missed most of that quarter after being winded. Blitzarves goes herself and draws a foul on Kayla George. Kelsey Griffin, your thoughts from the opening term?
Well, it's almost like they flipped the script. So Southside turning the ball over 5 times, they're on track for a 20 turnover game, which is what Flyers have done to Melbourne historically. So I think that's been huge in what's happened, but also Melbourne's ability to share the ball. You know, their ability to get great shots, great looks, push for opportunity, but then also have poise.
I'll piggyback off that. So 7 assists to 2. You know, the strength of this Southside lineup has been their ball movement and having so many people who can put the ball in the hoop. They've got Colin 1 of 4, Blitzarves 1 of 5 from the field because there are a lot of individual efforts right now. The ball's not moving and executing together.
Wallace hits the floor, keeps the ball, feeds it through to Leilani Mitchell.
And just a heads-up play by Wally there.
Have to come off bleeding from the elbow, so she'll have to get that attended to.
But she didn't get frustrated with the no call. She kept her head and actually made a play and got her teammate a wide open shot when everyone had stopped playing.
So Christy Wallace will get that. You can see the scratch on the right elbow. Let's head courtside to Candy. Candy, you're in Cheryl's huddle at quarter time.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't actually just Cheryl's huddle, though. It was a by committee huddle. Thornton started off saying there is pride on the line, and then went straight to captain, who said to start doing things together. She didn't feel like the team had good synergy between them. She said to stop blaming each other and start working as more of a team. And then Cheryl came through and said, just watch those turnovers.
Thanks, Candy. There's Christy Wallace getting that elbow attended to. Have a look at the top scorers in that opening term. Kayla George, 4 from 5 for 12 points. 7 for Penina Davidson, which are bonus points coming off the bench. And as you guys mentioned, Beck Cole, the leading scorer at the moment, with Sarah Blitzarf just 3 apiece for Southside. But those minutes played by Penina Davidson can be critical.
Absolutely. One of the things that we haven't really talked a lot about is Melbourne's bench. And it's because Southside has usually won the battle of the bench points. So clearly that's been something that's been addressed and talked about, and Melbourne's bench is saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, we can contribute too.
Points in the paint in the opening term, Mark, 14-4 in favour of Melbourne.
And so much of it has been just great execution, but then keeping heat on the rim. So being able to go early within the shot clock or keep working it. You know, they had one of their early touches for Kayla George was 2 feet from the rim. So being able to put Southside in positions where, you know, they may foul or give up a high percentage look, they've got to explore that both early and late in the shot clock.
Boomers shooting at 55% right now. The Flyers going at just 22%, 4 from 18 for them.
And what's interesting with Thornton being out is Melbourne actually started the game cross-match. So Tiff Mitchell guarded Thornton and Kayla was guarding Sarah. And now Kayla and Sarah do have that matchup because Sarah's been moved into the 4, but that also frees up who Tiff Mitchell is guarding to on Southside. So defensively, that could also be impacting what, you know, Melbourne or Southside's able to do with who Tiff Mitchell is now guarding.
So Christy Wallace with that elbow now strapped. Still in a bit of discomfort. She's as tough as nails. She's come ready to play tonight. Stung into action after a disappointing game 1. And blood on the court, the reason for the delay. Obviously, have to get that properly cleaned up and attended to. There's Lauren Jackson watching on. She'd be frustrated. Nothing worse, Kel. She went through it yourself this year when you see your team needs you out there and you just can't get out there to help them.
Absolutely nothing worse. You get to a point when you're like, I literally can't say anything else. It's just, yeah, it is incredibly difficult, and no doubt she would be disappointed, but her voice and her leadership and her presence in the locker room, similar to what she did for the Opals at the World Cup, I think is huge for Southside. So whilst incredibly frustrating, can still play a role.
Both these teams have had to deal with extensive injuries right throughout the campaign, Mark. Amy Rocci out for Southside pre-season. They also lost Dallas Luffridge, one of their youngsters. Of course, the Boomers lost Tess Madgen as well. And then Lauren Jackson goes down also. Mian Murray's missed some time with a foot injury. So both teams have had to overcome to get here.
They really have, and you know, having the ability to trust in your bench and have them come in confident to produce. I think over the course of a season, we see that come to a head in finals games like this. So when you've got the likes of Penina Davidson coming in and getting 7 points, you know, you bring Leilani Mitchell in late in the piece, she gets you a bucket. The Boomers have got 9 points so far from bench players. The Flyers have got 14 as a total unit. Then to the contrary with the Flyers, you know, being able to bring in Mon Conti, she's been a revelation, especially defensively. She'll get in your jersey for 94 feet, and then there's been some games where she's had double-digit points, so she can put points on the board from the 3 or being able to get to the rim. So yeah, there's talent from top to bottom with this roster. They're going to need to use all of it to try and make up this deficit.
So much experience you see in that 5 that's standing out there. You've got Nadia Potch, who's just a youngster, but what a prodigious talent. She's going to go on to be a star for the Opals and in this league and overseas, you would imagine, for many years to come. And then you look around and you see Cole and Bishop and Blitzarves and Rocci. There's Ernst. There's so much. They're not going to panic. It's 15 points. They've got plenty of time. They'll just, as Cheryl said, just peck it back bit by bit.
And I almost wonder if this blood cleanup could actually be to the disadvantage of the Boomers. You know, they were rolling. They were feeling it. They were moving the ball. They had push and poise like Mark had talked as a key. Now there's been time to settle, take a little bit of the atmosphere out of the gym, see what actually happens here.
Yeah, it's going to be an important minute or two on the restart here. Can Southside get some momentum for the first time tonight? Cole takes on Murray. And a chance for the Boomers through Leilani Mitchell.
That's back-to-back they've ran that isolation play. So Southside's really trying to attack who they think might be the weaker defenders on Melbourne.
George, Murray, Leilani pops it over the top. That is a beautifully weighted pass to Kayla George, and Cole fouls in the process. That was a thing of beauty, Mark. To float it over the top, and only Kayla could get that.
Well, Leilani's one of the greatest passers that we've had within the WNBL and in our national program for a long time. So if anyone can hit that small window of a target, it's her. But I love the job that George did. She was able to hold her seal and only release position to go and get possession, you know, when she knew she'd have an advantage.
I think this has been a great adjustment from the Melbourne coaching staff. They've seen that Southside's going to switch everything, so they're telling their bigs to go sit in front of the rim, get high-low passes so there can't be help-side defense.
Hodge, Blitzarves, Cole. What can Southside get going here? Manny Rocci will go for three herself. Mitchell comes away with it. Changed her mind at the last moment. Leilani managed to haul it in. Davidson
in front of you, but force you to take one that's off balance.
Rocci over the top to Bishop. That's better ball movement from Southside, but still the shot won't drop. They are 4 for 21 right now. Mitchell. George to Tiff Mitchell. Back to Leilani. Inside to Davidson. Over the top to George. That is beautiful ball movement from Melbourne. Patient.
It's so, what I'm loving to see, though, is Tiff Mitchell has every right to come out into this game and say, you know what, I had 36 last game. I'm going to take on this game. That's what I need to do. But she's trusting her teammates. They're all trusting each other to just make the right read, make the right decision, and get the best possible shot. It is really beautiful basketball to watch.
This timeout brought to you by CTM Sport. If you're considering travelling interstate, consider CTM Sport, ctmsport.com.au. Let's take you inside the Southside huddle now. They trail by 19 midway through this second term. Cheryl Chambers to address her troops.
We're going to, after a score, we're going to go to a zone. We're going to go 2-3 zone when it moves the other side, but you have to know where George is, okay? We don't want you to switch on George anymore. She's going to stay and get over and be in front of her the whole time. So we're only switching between you guys, okay? So we're ice and we're orange, okay? We're in amongst those sorts of things. The same rules we have, exactly the same. We're forcing left. Yeah, we're going to fully rotate. We're going to stop, okay? Offensively, we're going to go 5 down next play, okay? Look inside. If not, we get the middle pick and roll. Let's work out of it. Come on, guys. Southside.
Well, I think that's a great timeout by Coach Chambers. I mean, a lot of this is going to be qualitative, right? So I think you want your athletes to continue to compete defensively. So she's called for some defensive change-ups. She's 2-3 zoning on a score, and then she's made some adjustments with the pick-and-roll defense. You know, for the Flyers, it's going to come from the defensive end, being able to curb some of that and get their running game going.
Yeah, they've built their game around defense and rebounding. That's been their focus and what they did so well in game one. Bishop Blitzarves for three to get something going for the Flyers.
And that's what they need. While that was a play for a post-up, it collapsed the defense because they were worried about Abby Bishop posting up, and then Sarah was able to get a shot with her feet set. And we know she's such a great shooter with her feet set.
So Mitchell versus Rocci. Beautiful screen from George. Frees up Leilani, and she makes the bucket.
And that's what Leilani's done her whole entire career. She knows when to call on her own number and when to get other people going.
Potch, beautiful pass in between two. Tried to return the favoured Manny Rocci. Potch couldn't hang on, and Davidson tidies it up. Mitchell to George. Murray. Foul called. Might have been expecting the handoff to Mia. George kept it herself. So Blitzarves called for the foul, her second personal.
That's a veteran play by Kayla George. It's an old Susie Bakovic play, the fake handoff and keep it yourself.
Amanda Davidson and Mia Murray sit down. Wallace and Nelson Adoda into the action. Mitchell thought about pulling the trigger on the three. Now to Wallace. Shot clock down to 7. That mid-range shot, generally she's been good this year. Couldn't get them to drop in game one. Now looks to put some pressure on Blitzarves. Rocci's open. Steps inside. Bishop. Cole trying to take position against Leilani Mitchell. Tough one for Poch, but look at the athleticism of the youngster. Blitzarves down to 5. Sarah will go again. Not this time.
Every time the ball stops for the Flyers, the Boomers' defense gets loaded and then you get forced into an isolation play. They've been able to get high-quality shots from execution with the ball moving side to side.
Christy Wallace up to 7 points.
And what I love about this Boomers lineup right now is they have Christy and Leigh on the floor at the same time. So when they want to play with pace, they can give the ball to Christy. When they want to play with poise, they can play with Leigh. They can move Christy off the ball. It makes a whole nother dynamic for them offensively.
Here is Wallace to put some pace on. She'll hold it up. Goes to Leilani. Back out to Christy. Now to Mitchell. Puts it on the floor against Poch. Pulls it out. Leilani's open. Not this time, but George will keep it alive. Goes herself from the baseline. Tries to follow up again, but it's slapped away by Blitzarves and taken by Rochi. Margin sits at 21. We're approaching the midway point of this second term. Lovely pass, just a bit too much on it. Rochi to Bishop. What have you made of the tempo of the game tonight?
Oh, it's definitely been on the Boomers' terms, I would say. But also, Southside has had some really uncharacteristic turnovers as well. So they like to play fast, but it's almost like they're playing sped up in the quarter court, like Mark said. So it's been, obviously, the whole game has been on Boomers' terms.
Another foul. This time on Conti. It's been a good start for Christy Wallace. Up to 7 points.
And a lot can be said about Wally and her white line fever and what she's done, but I think with that criticism, there needs to be credit given for the adjustment she's been able to make from game 1 to game 2, showing a lot of maturity in this game and rising to the occasion.
Only 7 points, but 5 assists and 3 rebounds as well. Tiff Mitchell tries to muscle her way through some traffic. Foul called. Maybe Bishop.
Probably unlucky there. She was in the right position with her feet planted. I think the trouble was she brought both of her arms down. If she just walled up really tall, she would have forced Mitchell to have to shoot over the top of 6'4" plus outstretched arms, which is really challenging to do for anybody.
It's actually called on Maddie Rochi, I believe. So second for Maddie. Sends Mitchell to the line. 84% free throw shooter. This is the first.
Commentator's curse.
It's about then I mentioned she's got the 5th all-time best average in the WNBA, but didn't even need to get that far. Margin at 22. Biggest lead of the game so far for Melbourne. Conti to Cole. Ernst to Rochi. Looking for an option. Will she go herself? She does. Tough finish. Off hands. Melbourne ball.
That was good discipline by Nelson Dodota, not trying to go for the block, just using her length and seeing if Rochi could make a layup over the top of her.
So 8 turnovers for the Flyers. Equally impressive for the Boomers, just one. One turnover so far, midway through the second term.
And I think that was actually an offensive screen. I don't even know if it's actually a turnover.
George. Mitchell. Spins through Rochi and finishes. Tiff Mitchell up to 7 points.
And she gave her the too small.
Rochi to Conti. Mon to respond. They needed it.
Big shot, but still rushed within the context of what they're doing. So probably lucky to get away with that one. I'd like to see them continue to push, but with no numbers advantage, execute in the half court.
See, Mitchell likes the matchup on Rochi, being able to try and muscle her. Foul called on George, on Ernst rather, against George. I really can't believe it, but you can just see it in Tiff Mitchell's eyes at the moment. If she gets a chance to muscle up Maddie Rochi, she's going to go for it.
And that's what I like about what the Boomers have done tonight is they've been clinical in their offense about what mismatches they want to go at or what they've identified as a group, working to get the best shot. All 5 players know what they're trying to work towards, and you can see it. You can see it in the trust and the assists and the ball movement. It's great basketball to watch.
League MVP averages 18 points a game this season. She's got 18 points, and we are midway through the second term. Kayla George, what a start. Conti the look away pass. Cole, Bishop, back to Beck. Now to Rochi over the top to Bishop. Foul on Mitchell.
What I liked is the ball moved through several sets of hands, so there was execution, but the ball travelled side to side. It touched 4 or 5 sets of hands before they looked back inside. So playing inside out is going to be a strength, and that can come late in the shot clock here, where you've got a mismatch of the taller Abby Bishop on Tiff Mitchell.
They're holding both ways. Mitchell comes off. Rocci bounce pass, Pinot's into the game. Conti wants to take on Goodchild. Nelson Adoda with the size advantage, plucks it away. Boomers by 23. Flyers trying to rally here. Goodchild. Murray, straight up the middle. Good pressure, and away comes Bishop. Chance here for the Southside Flyers to try and build something off hands.
I believe a foul is called.
I believe so. Randy Rocci in the middle of everything as per usual. And down from Rocci to Bishop. Cole, plenty of time to set up, find a range and gets it. Gets the kindly bounce off the front iron.
That's a big shot, but it's the 6th point that she's made. So she's made 2 3-pointers. They're both plan B for Bet Cole, who's a terrific right-handed driver.
Timeout brought to you by Cygnett for all your charging product needs. Aussie design digital accessories at Cygnett.com. We thank them for their support of the WNBL this season. Let's take you inside the timeout.
Listen, they've gone to 5 out. Listen, they've gone to 5 out. So ball pick up, we're going to bring back to the 3-point line. They're trying to quicken the game up now. Containment, split line, recovery. Going to need to talk so we get to the 3-point line. All right, so they're trying to hurry up. Slow it down. Ball pick up halfway between the circles, Wally. All right, slow the game down. Okay. What do you got here? Okay.
Well, it speaks volumes, literally, how loud it is in the boombox. Chris Lucas is literally arm's reach away from his players, and he's having to scream at the top of his voice for them to hear them. Candy was in the Southside huddle.
Yeah, coach was saying to the team just to stop worrying about the calls that are being made. She'll take care of them. What they need to focus on is just closing that margin and not losing their heads.
Thanks, Candy. Mark Alabakov, Kelsey Griffin joining us for Game 2 of this semi-final series. And it feels right now that the game's entered another phase. This last 3.5 minutes of this second term, Wallace almost loses her footing. Goodchild back to Christy Wallace. George. Kayla feeling it in the first half. That one off the iron and out.
And what I liked in that timeout from Chris Lucas was he talked all about defensively what they wanted to do. As they were walking out on the court, he looked at Christy and said, what play are we running? So he trusts her with their play calls and what she needs to do offensively for him.
Bishop, lovely find inside to Cole. Southside looking to get something going here. Margin back to 18. Got out to 24 at one point.
That last offense is a trademark Cheryl Chambers play out of a timeout.
Wallace. Goodchild over the top. George versus Bishop. George puts it on the floor. Spins, shoots, and scores! Kayla George up to 20 points. And a heavy collision between Bishop and Wallace lands on that right elbow that's already hurt. That was a big shot. Here's another look. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the defense behind the level of the ball. So where Coach Chris Lucas is talking about the pickup point, being at the 3-point line, they're playing deeper and shrinking space within that 3-point line and closer to the basket. So even if Christy Wallace was able to get through that, she had 3 teammates that were all there to funnel the drive.
Second foul on Abby Bishop.
It must be loud in there because her bigs need to call and let her know that screen's coming.
Wallace tries to step through 3. Loses the handle. In the process is fouled. Christy Wallace weaving her way through the forest.
She is. And think this is where Wally, I mean, tough play, just tough physical play. But that recognition of, yep, it's getting physical. Yep, but can I keep my cool? Can I still get the ball moving side to side? I don't have to take the whole game on by myself.
I think that's what she's done particularly well, Kels, up until that last possession, is being able to play with poise and then let the game come to her, allow it to unfold and then make the decisions that she sees, not the ones that she's trying to force, out of just sheer willpower to try to help her team over the line.
So third foul on Abby Bishop, 3 also on Carly Ernst. So a couple of their taller options in some, well, not foul trouble exactly yet, but certainly a concern as Wallace makes the first.
And already missing Kayla Thornton as well.
Yeah.
And Lauren Jackson.
So margin back out to 22, just as Southside are starting to make some inroads. Still time, 2:15 left in this second term. Rochi. Eyes darting, looking for an option, takes on George, goes herself, and Kayla swats it away. Not in my house.
That almost looked personal. Kayla did that with emphasis. You can tell how much this game means to Kayla, and rightfully so. It's do or die, like we've been talked about. Potentially Mia's last game. They go way back. We've played a lot of basketball together, so this game means a lot.
Maddie with the inbound. Sarah puts it on the floor. Its arms won't quite go. Here's at Nelson Adota again. Her size advantage under the basket's been telling.
And they called her for a hook. That's one of those that's really tough, because there was a lot of physical, a lot of contact in the contest, excuse me. And she was just trying to get out of there to outlet to her point guard.
That'll be a third foul too.
So significant, as we said, 3 for Ernst, 3 for Bishop, and now 3 for Nelson Adota.
Credit the Flyers here, competing on the O glass. Georgia Pino comes in. She can bring some energy on the offensive glass to keep possession alive, or at least stem the transition back the other way.
Rochi off the glass, banks it in. Maybe a change of fortune here for Southside. Can they get something going late in the term?
The bank is open.
The bank is open, but that was still a really tough shot. And if I'm Melbourne, I'm okay with them needing to make those kind of shots in order to get back in this game.
Davidson harassed out of it. Away comes Rochi. Southside with a bit of energy here. Maddie goes herself. The Flyers getting some momentum here. And Maddie with plenty to say. I think she's revving up the Melbourne bench. Margin sits at 17. 1:27 left to play in the second term. Emotions are high. Tensions high. Tempers are high. Cheryl Chambers speaking with the referee.
Man, but that's what Melbourne's done so great, is take care of the ball, right? So that's one of the few turnovers we've actually seen Melbourne have, an instant offense for Southside. So that's why I think it's such a key to this game and what they've done so well for so much of it. Because as soon as you turn the ball over, you know the Flyers are going to turn it into offense.
Let's imagine.
We're okay. Our D-trans, we're going to get back quicker in hold. Any turnover, flood back. Any turnover, flood back. Okay. Loop up. Go to the 2. You got the 1. Okay. If they blow it up, you got a back door. Look after the ball. Okay, rebound. Next 2 minutes. Here we go.
87 seconds left in the half. Such a psychological battle between these two teams. Melbourne out to a big lead. That changes the psyche of the game. Now they see Southside trying to rally and come at them. Here's Candy. She was in the Southside huddle.
Yeah, Mark, you said that there was an absolutely exact play that was done last one by Cheryl. It's exactly what she normally calls up. She drew up the exact same play once again. It's her trademark. We'll see it once more.
Here's Mitchell. Murray. Some speed on the ball here from the Boomers. Wallace pops it over the top. Davidson zips the pass out to Mitchell. Everything but the shot. Doesn't quite drop. Rochi. Get the feeling Maddie Rochi's ready to make an impact on this game, and Pinot comes up with some points.
And that's the pace they want to play at. I mean, probably got lucky with the jump shot without a backboard angle. You probably want to keep heat on the rim when you're going at that kind of tempo. But this is a bit more like the Flyers.
Margin back to 15 all of a sudden. It's happened quickly. It's been impressive from Southside. They're starting to get the game on their terms for the first time tonight. That shot from George doesn't drop. And away scurry Southside again. We talked about their love of speed. And they see it there once again. As Chris Lucas was saying in his timeout, you've got to flood back. For the first time tonight, Kels, it feels like the game's on Southside's terms.
It really is, and you can see an increase in ball pressure. Great take by Christy Wallace, great response. But you can see an increase in ball pressure from Southside, rushing Melbourne's shots a little bit, and then they're turning it into offense.
Speed of the game has increased noticeably. Final play, Rochi over the top. Davidson comes in and fouls. So what was starting to look like a really dangerous margin, they trailed by 24. It's back to a manageable margin at half-time. This has been a great fight back late in the second term from Southside.
And it's what you'd expect. It's, you know, it's finals basketball. All season, everyone's been working towards making it to this point and pushing for a championship. And Southside, just like Melbourne, knows the gravity of this game. They have a closeout game is the hardest game, and they have an opportunity here.
They lost Kayla Thornton early, and then they lost Maddie Rochi for much of the first term when a lot of the damage was done. Final shot, Wallace to finish. Oh, yes! Christy Wallace makes a statement. Maddie Rochi's not happy. She's blowing up at the refs. There is plenty on the line, everything on the line for the Boomers. They lead by 16 points as the boombox explodes in game 2. Look at Maddie Rochi, comes together. She's furious. What a first half. Here's Candy with Kayla.
Kayla, what an incredibly physical and fierce first half on Boomers' term at this game as opposed to game 1. What have you adjusted?
We didn't really have a choice, right? This is do or die. So I think we've just probably more adjusted our mindset coming into the game. We've played some solid games this year and we've been tough, and we just didn't really show that against the Flyers in the last game. So we've just kind of shifted our mindset a little bit. They'll make adjustments, they'll have momentum swings, but we're just trying to maintain our momentum as well.
Well, you managed to pull it out to a 24-point lead at one point. 20 points for yourself. That's what we expect from our league MVP. What needs to happen now? You're a veteran of this game to get that win.
I think just, keeping it really simple, playing really tough defense, not letting them get any second chances, rebounding the ball, and just letting our offense flow off of our defense.
Great job, Kayla. Keep going.
Thanks, mate.
16 points, Melbourne's lead at half-time, but this game still feels very much up for grabs. It is 52 Melbourne. This right on half-time. Christy Wallace with a 3 to extend the margin back out to 16 points at the half. It is Melbourne 52, Southside 36, half-time game 2 of their semi-final series. The Flyers lead at 1-0, so it is do or die for Melbourne. Kelsey Griffin, Mark Alabakov. We said at the start of the night, one of the most highly anticipated matches of the season. Hasn't let us down so far. It has been fantastic to watch.
Yeah, not in the slightest. A lot of fire, but a lot of really good basketball too from the Boomers. Great adjustments, as you'd expect to see from game 1 to game 2, but also a ton of fight left in the Flyers, and we know they're not going to go away with that one.
We were just talking off camera, Mark, even though it's a 16-point game, the paint down the bottom there, Mark, 22-10 in favour of the Boomers has been critical. And, well, we expected a response from their skipper tonight, and hasn't she, 20 points in the opening half for Kayla George.
She's been incredible. So being able to make the plays that she sees, so allowing the game to come to her, not feeling the pressure, being the MVP of the competition, to have to chase points and will her team over the line. She's making the right decisions at the right time, taking shots when she's open, and being able to show the breadth of, offensive weaponry that we know she has.
12 fouls on the Flyers tonight, 5 on Kayla, 4 on Christy, 3 on Tiff Mitchell. All of them coming against their big 3.
It has, and they knew they needed to get under their skin, but credit to them for acknowledging that, rising to the challenge. And I think the other thing about Kayla's 20 is it's an efficient 20. Like, it's not just 20. You can get 20 in this league quite easily, but it's efficient, and she's doing it, and they're sharing the ball, and I think that's what makes it so difficult for Southside, is because of the ball movement and their ability as the 5 on the court working for the best possible shot.
What's the adjustment that's impressed you most, Mark, from the Boomers tonight?
Look, I think, being able to control tempo, and they've almost the Southside Flyers, so to speak. So being able to have balance of pushing the ball in transition, getting scores just on reaction time advantages, executing well in the half court, getting the right people, the right shots. And, the first 2 plays of the game, they went to Kayla George and they went to Christy Wallace. Getting them going and getting their confidence going early, I think, was really, really important. And that's been able to, filter its way through the first half.
Well, one person who loves fast, physical, fiery playoff basketball as much as anyone in the history of the game is Michelle Timms, the great legend Timsy. Here she is with Candy Hertz.
Timsy, you wouldn't have heard Jason's introduction of you right now, but what he was saying is that you love fiery, you love intensity, you love physicality. What are you making of the game so far?
I wrote a tweet saying it's everything you could probably dream of in a game. It's physical, you got players talking trash, you've got benches talking trash, you got referees being put under enormous pressure, and it's a battle out here. It's just fantastic to watch from the sideline.
What do you think has changed so much from game 1 to game 2? Because it's a complete switch of the game, isn't it?
Kayla George turned up to play, that's for sure. Well, she got like 18 in this first half. I think, obviously Thornton's out, and then Rochi going down at the start definitely upset them. But, even the score line, 18, counting that last 3? Yep. Even though it's 18, you can't sit and think, Boomers have got this. And I kind of think they lost their way a little bit, taking quick shots, and maybe they thought, they felt a little too comfortable. But you can't count the Flyers out. It's going to be a really interesting second half. I just love the aggression out here. It's great.
Last question, Timsy. What would be going through the mind right now of these players? Obviously, there's so much on the line. You've been in that position before. What's in their minds?
A win. One thing. We're going to get the win.
Well, let's see what happens. Thank you so much, Timsy.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks to the great Michelle Timms. And our other semi-final series between the Fire and the Lynx continues tomorrow in Perth. Townsville on a 13-game winning streak. They're one up in the series after a 13-point win in Game 1 at the Fire Pit. Perth now facing a do-or-die clash in front of their home crowd. Game 2 tomorrow, 3:30 local Perth time, 6:30 Eastern. Lynx and Fire right here on ESPN and KO. Quick break, third quarter action coming up next. In a situation where emotions are peaking. These two teams, great rivals at the best of times, let alone when there's a season on the line and a grand final spot up for grabs. Southside leading this series 1-0, but Melbourne leading this game by 16 points. Second half action from the boombox. Great to have you with us. Jason Bennett, Kelsey Griffin, Mark Alabakov and Candy Hertz courtside. Wallace. Nelson Adoda through to Mitchell and one. Tiff goes thundering into the crowd. Let's talk adjustments. It's the key to finals basketball. Let's start with the Boomers. What have they done differently from a structural perspective to game one, Kels?
Well, I think there's a lot probably that was talked about, the nervous energy that went into the game. And for the adjustments that they've made, it seems like they've just been really clinical. They're all on the same page. They understand exactly what they're running, why they're running, what they're running it for, but also defensively. You can make an argument defensively. They've made huge adjustments in being able to really make sure they were all on the same page. They look lost on defense at times, but you can't not mention the big out of Kayla Thornton, and that's a huge piece to what Southside's done successfully all season.
A lot more time on the floor between Leilani Mitchell and Christy Wallace out there together, Mark. It's something we haven't seen a lot of in Leilani. This is only her 5th game.
Yeah, and I mean, Kelsey alluded to it in the first half. It allows you the flexibility to play Wally as a scorer, so she can come off actions and get to the rim, but then can also push with reckless abandon in transition, and then when you have to execute, you get it to lay in the half court.
Potch at one end, and then Mitchell just trying to pass off to Nelson Adoda, but not on the same page.
And I've just been so impressed with Potch this season, not shying away from the moment. You know, this is a huge game, and her to be able to come in first play in a half, trying to chip away at this lead, get to the rim, finish strong. Her future is very bright.
Very bright, isn't it? Here's Cole. Back to Potch. Over the top to Bishop. Spins, tries to get to position, throws it up. Mitchell wins that little one-on-one.
And that was good low block defense from Tiff Mitchell, not letting Abby Bishop get back to her right hand.
Wallace goes one way, then the other. Draws a foul. Tiff Mitchell, 36 points in game one, but tonight, Kels, she's been happy to be a facilitator when she saw that Kayla George was lighting it up early and Christy Wallace is on song as well.
And that's championship DNA. You know, that's knowing that your teammate's hot, keep going to him, but yet if you look, she has the best plus and minus. So she does a lot without the ball in her hand to get her teammates open, to draw attention, understands her role, and then knows when she needs to be aggressive as well. And I've just been really impressed by her series so far.
Christy misses the first. Makes the second, and it's back to an 18-point margin. To Potch, to Bishop, to Cole. Archie versus Wallace inside to Blitzarves for 2. Nice. Sarah's been a steadying influence tonight. She's up to 10 points, leads the game for Southside.
And that comes off the back of half-court execution. So they moved the Boomers' defense, got them on the run, were able to hit. Blitzarves in stride, she hits the elbow jumper.
Mitchell to reply at the other end, not this time. Away comes Rochi. Tempo of the game is going to be fascinating to watch. Southside managed to get a bit of speed on the ball late in that term when they looked good. Up until then, the Boomers had really controlled the tempo, done it well, had it on their terms. Wallace. Nelson Adoda pops it over the top for George. Tough shot, and Kayla makes it.
It's almost unguardable. Like, everyone knows that's what Kayla's going to do, and she can still do it and still make it.
Kayla Thornton's been such a great matchup defensively for Kayla George. She's not out there tonight. And George making the most of it.
That was good. That was another good execution of getting an easy shot in the half-court offense. Southside's going to need a lot more of that on top of some defensive stops to try to chip into this lead.
Blitzarves up to 12 points now. Nelson Adoda, front iron. Chance again here for the Flyers to start to eat away into this deficit. Sarah Blitzarves looks like the most dangerous offensive threat right now. That one won't go.
You'd just like to see a bit more of an offensive rebounding presence for the Flyers to keep the ball alive, try and get some extra possessions.
There's that mid-range jumper that Wallace likes so much. She's up to 17. Judah Bishop. Cole sets up for 3 herself and makes it.
Bet Cole, with her feet set, that's something she added into her game over the last 3 seasons. You knew she would always be a great right-hand driver, could finish with contact, but she's become a really consistent three-point shooter. So it'll be interesting to see if the Boomers continue to go underneath on ball screens with her.
George versus Blitzarves. Defense from Sarah was enough to pressure the shot. And away comes Rochi for speed again. Cole. 2 more for Beck. Southside keep on coming. Margin just 13.
Boomers have really started to settle for a lot of outside perimeter jump shots. It'll be interesting to see if in this set, if they try to get a collapsing touch, feet in the paint.
Dominated points in the paint in the first half. It's currently 24-16 Boomers, and this time Nelson Adota does get to the rack.
A strong take there too. You can see that there's a focus to try and beat Abby Bishop off the dribble.
Well done, Nelson Adota. Quick heads-up play. Wallace gets to the stripe. Gets the bounce. And a foul. So the Boomers at the moment able to keep them at arm's length. Southside threatening to eat into the deficit. They led at one stage Melbourne by 24 in that second term. Here's another look. Christy Wallace having a good start to this third term.
She really is, and that's playing with a lot of confidence, backing herself. That's her shot, that elbow jump shot. She's worked on it tirelessly, and it's like almost shooting a layup for her. So it's good to see her response and how she's bounced back from game 1. Her future is incredibly bright as well.
To Poch over the top. Not sure if that was a shot or a pass. In the end, it ended up being neither. Wallace and Poch. Foul called on Nadia.
Feet in the right position, but just reach both arms in. So far better to get your feet in front, so toes to toes, keep your arms out, show the referees that you're not reaching in, and then wear the contact down the middle. And that's the difference between a foul call on you versus an offensive foul on Wallace.
So 6 fouls on Christy Wallace tonight, meaning 6 times she's been fouled. 5 on George and 4 on Mitchell. Under plenty of physical pressure from the Flyers. Murray to Mitchell. Runs into some trouble. It's picked off by Rochi. He's got Cole to the outside. Hesitates, goes herself and finishes. Lovely from Maddie Rochi.
That's a tough finish. A great job of being able to keep a straight line drive, hold the contact with a shoulder to chest advantage, and then finish with the outstretched hand.
Feels like an arm wrestle right now. These two teams going bucket for bucket. It was 16 points the margin at halftime. It sits at 15 right now. This timeout brought to you by DIY Blinds, Australian-made designer quality window furnishings. DIYblinds.com.au to order your free samples today. Let's take you into the Boomers huddle.
Stay with. Offensively, go to 41. Let's get some movement. Move the ball, guys. Okay? Contain them. Don't go on the top. Let's see if you can get over. All right? Quick if you have to. All right? 41. Okay? Stop here. Come on.
Well, I like that adjustment from Chris Lucas, telling them they're going over ball screens with Bet Cole. They're not going under anymore, recognizing that she is, with her feet set, a very deadly three-point shooter. And just calling for a bit more poise and patience. I think he wants execution, not to get too hurried. Basically do everything they had been doing in the first half.
Candy, you're in the Southside huddle.
Cheryl was quite positive, happy with how her team's operating. All she said, one message, was she wants to get that deficit down to just 10 points.
Wallace. Murray from the corner. Is one of these going to drop eventually? Not yet. She might get another opportunity. Scraps forward here. In comes Rochi. They pile in. Jump ball called. Desperation. And that's going to take some floor wiping as well.
And that's good from the Flyers. They weren't getting those 50-50 balls in the first half. They were playing almost a bit waiting for the game to come to them, and so that was great to see Bet Cole diving on that loose ball and Rochi going in to back her up. Obviously understanding they need every possession they can get.
I think looking at the psychology of it, like playing to win versus playing not to lose, we had that first initial effort, but then as soon as you had Wallace dive in, both Maddie Rocci and Bet Cole pulled out of the contest. For me, that's pretty telling. You know, like there's still quite a hunger here from the Boomers to not let the Flyers get back into this contest.
There's definitely a sense that the Flyers are trying to mount a rally here in this third term. So far, the Boomers have managed to hold them off. Southside will keep on coming. Rocci to Poch, back to Maddie. Good screen from Bishop on Wallace, allowing Maddie to get to the rack and one.
And Maddie is fired up, as she should be. This is probably the spark that the Flyers were missing, and maybe that really rattled them a little bit more than we acknowledged in that first quarter. Maddie's certainly a very competitive person. I've had the privilege of playing a few seasons with her in Canberra, and I know she'll definitely not go down without a fight.
She's the main agitator, the main spark plug for Southside.
It's a great call.
And the main agitator for the Boomers as well to get under their skin. It's a 12-point game. Southside haven't been this close for a while. Important minutes here, 4.5 left in the third. Poch almost steals it away from Mitchell. Boomers just need to be steady here. Need some execution. George. At that time, Davidson beaten for it, then goes a second time. Good effort, Penina Davidson. Mitchell, Wallace, not quite. They go again, Mitchell can't keep it alive.
Incredible efforts from Melbourne on the offensive glass, but that was better pressure from Southside too. They were disrupting Melbourne in their set. They weren't just letting the ball move side to side and let them pick apart their defense. So that's the kind of intensity Southside's going to need defensively to get back in this game.
Flyers are coming. They're starting to ask the question of Melbourne. Will the Boomers tighten up? Can they steady and keep them at arm's length? Rocci to Poch. Well done, Mitchell. And then extracts a foul as well, as Nardio tries to make up for the first error.
I think that'll be her third too. She's had a pretty good third quarter here defensively on Tiff Mitchell, being able to be disruptive and blow up some of those driving lanes. So this could be a critical foul for her.
So 3 on Bishop, 3 on Ernst, and now 3 on Poch. 4 on Nelson Adota, who's sitting down for the Boomers as a result. 12-point game. Wallace and Rocci continue their one-on-one battle. Davidson with another board, but again it's stripped out of her hands.
And that was really good from Rocci. She got Wally out of the offense, and she was able to get her to shoot a contested dribble jump shot.
Abby pulls up for 3. That's huge. They're back within single digits for the first time in a long time, and here come the Flyers. Melbourne need a steadier. Offensive foul against Davidson. The Flyers ratcheting up the pressure here.
And what they've done is they've done it defensively. That's the thing they've been talking about all season long, is wanting to be a defensive team, and we weren't sure how that was really going to look in the absence of Thornton. And I think in that first quarter, the absence of Rocci showed just what an anchor she is as that agitator for them to really get under the Boomer skin.
19-12 in this term. Rocci from long range, not quite. Boomers ball.
And interestingly, the tactic from the Boomers to sag in and shrink the space in the keyway on any of the transition defense, it's forced Southside to have to execute in the half court, and that's what's got them back into the game.
Mitchell runs over Rocci. Foul called on Maddie again. Tell you what, she's spending more time on the floor than the floor wipers at the moment.
You can see her, she's trying to make a veteran move and jump switch on that and see if she could pick up a charge, but didn't get her feet there in time. Great call by the official.
She's worn a couple of big hits tonight, one from Wallace and now another from Mitchell. Just feeling at that sternum. She is a ferocious competitor, Maddie Rocci. Has been a big part of the reason why the Flyers are firstly still in this game, but second, coming at the Boomers hard now. A couple of big free throws here for Tiff as the Boomers look to steady.
I love that she stayed patient too, Tiff Mitchell. She was such a big part of their offense in game one, and this one she's not been the focal point perhaps as much as Wallace and George have been for this first 3 quarters, but she's picked her moment. She's been highly efficient. She's shooting at 44% from the field and gotten on the free throw line.
12 points of her own. Margin back out to double digits. Under 3 minutes to play in the third term. Do or die for the reigning champs. Southside looking for another grand final appearance. Foul that time on Leilani Mitchell as she tried to strip the ball from Maddie Rocci.
And that's good from Lay as well, getting up, not letting her set up the offense, what she wants to do, testing her a little bit. Probably a bit unlucky there, almost got the ball. But that adds depth to the Boomers, being able to have Lay come in, who's won championships, played at the highest level possible, played in the WNBA. That experience is so important coming off the bench for the Boomers.
Rocci versus Leilani now. Wallace loses her footing. Here's Cole. Lovely little move over the top for Bishop. Mitchell arrived just in time. Davidson versus Cole. Panina, tough. She's fouled.
Davidson has been great off the bench for the Boomers tonight. She's created that inside presence, attacked mismatches, been really great with her hands, finishing under the rim. Wasn't able to finish on that occasion, but drew contact and got a foul. It's all those little things that go a long way in winning a championship. You need people to step up, everyone individually to step up, and Davidson's definitely risen to the occasion.
61% free throw this year, 64 for her career. Couple of big ones here. She makes the first.
And Kels, it's the dominoes that it sets in motion. So she had 3 people try to crowd her space on that catch in the post. On a kick out, you might leave Kayla George wide open, and that could be a dagger.
So Amanda Davidson up to 9 points. Margin back out to 13. Cole versus Wallace. Back out to Bishop. It'll be a Boomers ball. And the Boomers have just steadied here, Kels, in the last minute or so. They got within 9 points, the Flyers. It's back out to 13, Boomers ball.
And what's been interesting is he actually brought Lay in, and I think that's been a really good coaching adjustment. So brought Lay in to steady the ship a little bit. Wally and her can tag team between point guard and off ball. And I think it's also Tiff Mitchell recognizing the moment as well and knowing when to take the game on too. So I think whilst this group on the floor hasn't been playing together long, it's certainly setting the ship.
Mitchell, Murray, they trip the centre line and do it well in the end. Keep it alive somehow. Now George loses the handle but finds Davidson. Mitchell's shot won't go. Panina again, scraps and finishes.
It breaks your heart. A great job to scramble and rotate and match up to the ball by the Flyers. You get beat off an offensive rebound and put back. That's why you've got to play the full 24 and just make sure you lock up possession.
Here's Panina again. What a game she's playing. Up to 13 points. Panina Davidson having a huge influence.
That's your center denying the other center, leading the break, finishing. That's someone who wants it, wants to win.
Rocci, margin back out to 17. Steps into traffic, no way through. Ernst, Cole open, feet set. George got a poke in the eye. Blitzarv's called for the foul.
And whilst Southside didn't make that shot, that's the kind of offensive possessions they need. Rocci collapsed the defense, kicked it out to Ernst. She got it to a wide open shooter with their feet set. More times than not, they'll make that shot.
Inadvertent there from Sarah Blitzarv, so she's just trying to reach around for the ball. So Kayla George will go to the line to shoot 2. It's been a good response from Melbourne. Southside closed from 16 at the half. They got to within 9 points. And the last 3 or 4 minutes of game time have been all Boomers. As Kayla mentioned at halftime, they knew that the Flyers would have their moments and have their runs. They just had to find a way to shut them down. They've done it so far in this third. George to 24. Foul off the ball as Rocci and Leilani Mitchell tangle.
It is interesting that Southside, when Boomers go to this smaller lineup, are going to look to try to exploit their smalls, their guards on the low block. That seems to be Cheryl's adjustment to this smaller lineup from the Boomers with Lay and Wally on at the same time.
Both teams in the bonus now. First from Rochi misses. 77% free throw shooter in her career.
And there's gift and curse with that. I think you can exploit a mismatch if it gets delivered on time and on target, but otherwise it can bog down your offense.
Absolutely.
Mitchell and Rochi. Can't take your eyes off Maddie Rochi when she's on the court. There's always something happening. Whether she's got the ball in hand or she's trying to get it back. Leilani can't finish, and here comes Maddie Rochi. Swoops on the loose one. She's got Wallace setting up to defend. Will swing it wide for Blitzarves. Big play for Southside.
Great recognition. Worried Leilani into that shot. Tough contested finish. Pushed on the break. Knew Sarah was spotting with her feet set. She said she's one of our best three-point shooters. I'm going to find her in transition.
Davidson to Mitchell. Foul called on Beck Cole. That's her fourth. So 4 on Cole, 4 on Nelson Adoda for Melbourne. And then for the Flyers, 3 on Rochi, Bishop, Potch and Ernst.
And probably missed a really good backcut read there. So she fakes to go back door. Beck Cole didn't go with her, and I don't think she realised how open she was going to be.
Boomers have been steady. Got a little shaky as the Flyers started to get a bit of momentum, Kels, but how have they managed to get their feet back underneath?
6 turnovers, that's it for me. They've completely limited the amount of points that Southside's been able to get in transition.
And that one's come off Carly Ernst and out, so it'll remain a Boomers ball. 9-second differential between shot and game clock. Boomers get a fresh 14. Davidson had a magnificent third term. Wallace chews up some clock. Wants to work on Conti. Shot clock to 4, goes herself. And draws another foul. So there's been plenty of contact that Christy Wallace has been involved in tonight, but unlike game 1, the calls have been going her way.
They definitely have. We'll have to see a replay of this one.
What do you make of it, Kels?
Look, Conti probably wasn't there with the body call. I think it was the right call from a charge, but Christy Wallace needs to be very careful extending her armbar like that because, a block for Conti. But if Christy Wallace continues to push players off and extend her armbar, the refs are well within their right to call that a charge.
She's up to 22 points. George has got 24. Mitchell 13 and Davidson 13 has been the X factor. Rochi loses it. Lost the handle. Wallace pinched it. Foul then called on Maddie Rochi. That's her 4th.
And foul trouble is going to play an impact here, especially if the Flyers are going to need to exert a whole lot of effort and aggressiveness, especially on the defensive end, to try and make up this deficit. They've got 5 players with 3 or more fouls. 4, sorry.
So Wallace back to the line again. Chance to extend this lead back out as Maddie Rochi chats to the bench, frustrated on 4 fouls. 4 on Cole as well. Wallace will step to the line. 22 points for Christy tonight on 8 of 13 shooting. She's 4 of 5 from the line. She's been fouled 8 times. Mitchell's been fouled 7 and George 6. And you spoke at the start of the night about winning the free throw count, Kels. This is their 23rd and 24th free throws compared to 11 for the Flyers. It's been a factor.
Completely flipped the script. So that's exactly, what Southside did to Melbourne in the previous game in game 1. And again, if we look at points off turnovers, Boomers have created 17 points off turnovers compared to Southside's 10. So those are categories where all 4 previous games, all 4 previous wins, Southside's been able to win those and win those by a large margin. Once those are taken away, completely different game.
Critically, they've shot 20 of 24 from the stripe tonight, so they've cashed in. Rochi, final second, puts up a prayer, almost. So the Boomers see off the challenge and extend their lead. They led it by 16 at the half. They put on 28 points to 23 in that third term. And as we turn for home at the Boombox, it's Melbourne 80, Southside 59.
Nards for who? I nearly say Carly. But I was going to put Abby back into Carly and see if we can... Nards, come in. We're going to go small. You come into Carly. We're going to go small. Okay, we're going to try a little 1-2-2 zone. Let's have a look and see what it looks like. Okay, so this is Sarah. So Sarah, you might have to float into the top. Mon, Maddie, Nards, Georgia. Okay, so it becomes a 2-3 and you get in the middle. Yep. If it's a missed shot, we're in our man-to-man. It's only if we score here. Okay? Stay together here. Okay? Don't worry about anything else. Just stay together and just see if we can eat it back a bit. Okay? Here we go. Southside.
The Boombox is rocking. Big third term from Penina Davidson and the Boomers. They extended their 16-point halftime lead to 21 at the final change as we get underway in this last quarter. Boomers 80, Southside 59. Melbourne trying to tie up this series and send it to Game 3 on Wednesday night. Mitchell, Wallace, back to Tiff. Gets to take on Blitzarb, steps back, tough finish and she makes it.
That's good, D. That's just better offense.
Good start to the final term here for Melbourne. Get the thoughts of Kelsey Griffin and Mark Alabakov shortly. What can Southside do here to make one last run? Put some pressure on the reigning champs. Potch is stripped. Mitchell, Wallace, George. Happy to play a role in that third term, Kayla. Mitchell goes to ground. She was the focus of so much offense in the first half, Kayla George. And was happy to just do her bit in the third. Puts it on the floor now. Mitchell's wide open from the corner. Well done, Murray. Keeps it alive. Wallace to Mitchell. Back to Christie, to Murray for the corner. Hasn't dropped yet. She'll keep pulling the trigger. She's none for 5 tonight, Mia Murray, as the foul is called. Mark Alabakov, from a Southside perspective, what have you liked that you've seen tonight? What can they do to work their way back here?
Well, look, I mean, I think they've got to commit to still pushing the ball. They've got to try and get reaction time advantages off the back of great defense. And you've got to really go for broke defensively. Trap a whole lot. Perhaps it's pick and rolls. Perhaps it's on inbound situations. If you foul people, you're either going to get back in the contest or lose by 20, but you've got to go for it.
It rattles out. Potch is fouled by Wallace. And from a Boomers perspective, Kelsey, what have you seen that you've liked tonight?
I think for me, their ability to take care of the ball. I know it was something Chris was really wanting from them in Game 1, but they weren't able to quite execute, which took away the opportunities for Southside. But also defensively, I probably haven't talked enough about their defense. They have all been on the same page and known exactly what they wanted to do and execute, where the rotations were going to come from, who was switching onto what, and there's been very few defensive breakdowns.
Conti versus Leilani Mitchell. Now she'll take on George. Tough shot for Mon, and she makes it. Classy finish. Leilani somehow keeps that one alive. It was a loose inbound from Kayla George. Kayla gets it back. Now to Mitchell. Mitchell to Mitchell. Leilani pops it over the top again. Well-weighted ball. George versus Poch, and Poch fouls. So Nadiu's on to 4 fouls as well. 4 for Cole, 4 for Rochi, 4 for Poch rather, and 3 each for Bishop, Blitzarves and Ernst. So we've spoken about how much the big 3 have been fouled tonight for Melbourne. It's been extraordinary. 8 on Wallace, 7 each on George and Mitchell.
Well, I think, too, probably as well, the adjustment that Melbourne's made is this small ball lineup. I liked it. I thought it looked really good at times in the game 1. But where Kayla's playing the 5, and you have Mia in the 4, and Leigh and Wally on the court at the same time with Mia as the floor spacer, this group really has some really great energy. And also then you can throw Tiff Mitchell into matchups where you want. So I feel like they're really deadly from all positions, and it really hasn't hurt them defensively either.
Wallace puts the head down, charges down the floor, flips it to George, loses the handle, but then gets it back. Kayla loses it again, regains it. Mitchell, George from the corner. Not how they drew it up, but 3 points just the same. Kayla George all fired up.
Just some unforced errors from the Flyers there, and the Boomers are so classy that they make you pay on the scoreboard immediately.
125, Conti to respond. Front iron through the hands of Poch, and Mitchell takes control.
That's what it takes to win championships. Those 1%ers, getting the loose balls, getting the extra possessions. It looks like Southside's unlucky, but you have to give credit to Melbourne for just not denying themselves the opportunity to win this game by winning every possession.
Murray stripped, good hands here from Blitzarves into the open court. Has got Poch or can go herself. In the end, Poch should finish, doesn't, and does eventually.
Multiple efforts on the O glass there. Unfortunate 2 misses on the first 2 attempts. If you're Coach Cheryl Chambers, as this margin stays out the way that it is, you've got to start thinking about managing some of your bigger minutes getters if you're going to go to a game 3.
George, flat shot, hits the iron. Away comes Conti. To Rochi for 3. Big high rebound, and it spills to Wallace, who looks to split the traffic. Well done, Conti, picked her pocket. Superb from Mont. To Poch. The youngster drains it.
And that's better in transition, so pushing the ball, getting feet in the paint first, so playing from inside to out. So you're looking to keep heat on the rim, and as soon as the defense collapses, you've got shooters out on the perimeter.
And I really like this timeout from Chris Lucas. Regardless of the lead, he's saying we don't play this way. We're not playing erratic basketball. We're playing on our own terms.
Timeout brought to you by Aussie Hoops. Perfect foundation for your kids aged 5 to 10 to get them into basketball and enjoy the game. Check it out online at Aussie Hoops. Let's hear what Chris Lucas has to say. Let's head into his timeout as Christy Harrower says, just settle down. What a game day experience it is at the Boombox, Kels. Tell us, as a visiting team, what's it like to play in that environment?
Absolutely brutal. I would say it's one of those hostile environments, but you love it. That's why you play at this level, is for those environments. But credit to Boomers fans. They come out and they are loud.
Let's head courtside. Here's Candy.
Kels, it might be brutal to play. Let me tell you, it's also brutal to do courtside. It is loud in here. So let me tell you a bit about body language. Cheryl Chambers actually crouched down right in front of her team, looked at every one of them and said, we are not done yet. She was calm. She gave them some good suggestions. We'll see how that plays out.
Still plenty to play for, not just even for tonight, irrespective of the result. You've got to play them again on Wednesday night, should you lose tonight. What can they learn in these last 6 minutes, the Flyers? Can they stumble across something that works for them? Mitchell inside, adds another 2.
Standing back cut read there, so the adjustment from the Flyers is it's called top lock. Play on the high side of Tiff Mitchell, not let her come up to the top of the key and catch the ball. Great back cut layup.
Pinot to Conti. Bishop inside, Pinot, foul call. And to the point about playing out the game, Kels, I sense that the Boomers learnt something in the last 6 minutes on Wednesday night. When Christy Wallace fouled out and Leilani played the last 6 minutes, they had a very different feel. And look how different they've set up tonight as a result of that.
Definitely. I think Lei showed what she's capable of doing, what we've all known as either teammates or competitors who have played against her. Her knowledge is unparalleled in the point guard position, and her experience as well, and her just level-headedness. So I think that really showed the Boomers that they can go to Lei. And I think this two-guard lineup, with Lei and Wally, sharing positions in the point guard can be really deadly for the Boomers.
Great defensive hand there from George to force another turnover. She now receives from Mitchell, flings it in the Leilani direction. Well done, Monconti, who's been a bundle of energy as always. 4 fouls on Cole, 4 fouls on Rochi. Wallace drains the three. What a response it's been from Christy Wallace. She went none for 11 in game 1. She's up to 27 points tonight. The quick go-ahead pass. Pinot responds with 2.
I'm not surprised. Christy Wallace is a special human being, and so I'm just happy for her that she's been able to go out and respond the way that we all knew she could.
To George. Here's Wallace. Gets it done under the hoop, does she? No, Adoda comes in to help, and Olivia lays in 2 more. And this Boomers offense heading towards triple figures as Conti adds 2 more in the other direction.
I think from these minutes too, though, Cheryl can say, look what we can do. Look, when we're locked in, what we can do. And we need to carry that over into the next game.
Heavy hit from Mitchell. Rochi goes down again. Is that a 5th on Maddie? It is. Maddie Rochi fouls out of the game. And three of them she's really earned the hard way tonight. So Maddie Rochi fouls out with 4.5 minutes to go. Boomers up by 23.
Yep, Maddie Rochi's definitely a competitor, prepared to put her body on the line night in, night out, try to do whatever she can to get her teammates the win. You know, look at that. She's leading them in rebounding. You know, that's your point guard leading and rebounding.
And now we see some of the youngsters stepping out onto the court. Some minutes for Lana Hollingsworth. Mila Goodchild into the game.
Goodchild's produced in this league, against some good opposition. She's a deadly 3-point shooter. When she's confident in taking that shot, she can make it and hit a few in a row and catch fire within a quarter.
Hasn't she been a wonderful pickup mid-season for the Boomers, or early in the season anyway? Fantastic coming out of Duke. Conti lets it fly. Potch scraps with Mitchell. Tiff gets there first, but steps out. Southside ball.
I love this from Potch. She's not backing down. She doesn't care that Tiff Mitchell's a WNBA starter. You know, she's going toe-to-toe with her and giving her everything she's got.
So impressive as a chief. Can't sing her praises enough, and here she is with ball in hand again. Mitchell. Tiff not overly thrilled with the call. As Timsy mentioned at halftime, a lot of pressure on these referees tonight. It's been such a physical, intense, spirited, fiery kind of game. Ernst versus Nelson Adoda. Here is Mila Goodchild. Added some real zip to this Boomers lineup, which is ideal if you're coming on to spell Christy Wallace. You can bring someone else who's got that sort of pace and quick feet. A really useful acquisition. Conti. Ernst. Patch to Conti again. Long 3 for Mon. Not quite. Pinot can't quite haul it in, and Leilani off to Tiff Mitchell. Goodchild. Goes herself with the left, can't finish. Nelson Adoda on 4 fouls. Happy to leave that one go, and Conti comes away. Over the top to Pinot. And Georgia lays in a couple.
She's been handy, competes on the O glass, she's run the floor, she's presented a target in the post there and gets the lob. I like her energy in the small amount of minutes she's had so far.
To Mitchell. Nelson Adoda calls for a bit of movement. Here's Leilani for 3. Just skims the nylon. So 2:51 remaining in game 2. Boomers up by 22 points. As Kayla George checks out of the game. Melanie Mitchell takes a seat as well. And Brown into the game for Melbourne. Conti. Just went over the top for Ernst. Got herself in early foul trouble tonight. Such a classy finisher.
Makes use of the mismatch there. I'd like to see her have that same aggression going to the post on a mismatch earlier in the game.
Good job through Brown. Whistle off the ball. Offensive foul on Mitchell. And third for the evening. Tiff will sit down. Job done with 2 minutes to play. Tiff finishing with 18 points to go with her 36 in game one. They've shared the load much better tonight. 28 for George, 27 for Wallace, 18 for Mitchell, 13 for Davidson. Much healthier looking score sheet. Pinot fights under the basket. Wilson Adoda comes up with it. Wallace. Taylor Ortlip into the game. Foul there on George Pinot. Chris Lucas ringing the changes off the bench in this final term. Watch. Her fifth. That will be. So she'll foul out of the game as well. And join Maddie Rocci on the bench with 5 fouls. Smiles on the Boomers bench. They know they will live to fight another day, as will the Flyers. It sets it up for a blockbuster game 3 on Wednesday night.
Sensational game. It's going to have everything that you would want in a basketball game, I have no doubt.
Flyers will be hoping Kayla Thornton can return from that rolled ankle as Mila Goodchild steps on the sideline. The return of Thornton will be absolutely critical.
It will be, and what kind of form she's in. How much, if she is able to play, how much that ankle is limiting her.
I think that's the question. I mean, it's ultimately going to determine how this third game plays out. You know, they were caught by surprise not having her available tonight, knowing she's hurt, but a 50-50 chance, and you're probably expecting her to get up. To have to adjust on the fly right before a game against a really quality Melbourne Boomers lineup, it's a difficult proposition.
So Chris Lucas and the Boomers will set up 2 plans, one for Kayla Thornton being there and one without her there. Brown, Mitchell, Ortlip. Taylor goes herself, nice finish. Conti to Ernst. Pops it over the top. Pinot. Carly from long range has made a career of that.
She absolutely has, and just 1 season ago, this was a home court for her, so expect Carly to be firing from 3, no doubt.
And played a critical role in that championship run for the Boomers, a role this year that's been played by Mia Murray. Goodchild. Puts up a shot or a pass. Holly Griffiths in the game for Southside, scrapping on the deck against Lou Brown.
What you like from the Boomers bench crew that's come into the latter part of this quarter is they've executed well as a team, so they've stayed within their structure. So being able to adhere to standards and habits has been obviously a part of what they do from player 1 through to player 12, but then continuing to compete. The game is technically over on the scoreboard, but Luke Brown continues to go after the O glass.
And there is no love lost between these 2 teams, so you know it's going to be a fiery game 3.
Indeed, exactly what we love. Pinot down off the ball. Here's Conti. Nice strip there from Goodchild. Really slick hands. Ortlip. Final 10 seconds. What a performance from the reigning champions. They are still alive. The Melbourne Boomers defy the odds to take game 2 and send this semi-final series to a game 3 decider Wednesday night at SBC. Melbourne 96, Southside 77. When I say defy the odds, they'd lost 4 of 4 against Southside this season. No Kayla Thornton, obviously a big factor in tonight's game. But this sets things up for a tantalising series decider on Wednesday night. We'll have it for you right here live on ESPN and KO Sports. It was the Boomers flying out of the blocks. They led by 14 points at the first change, 16 at the half. The Flyers came at them in the third, got within 9 points before the Boomers steadied, headed to three-quarter time with a 21-point advantage. And the game largely going up and down on the spot in the final term. Melbourne running out 19-point winners, 96-77. Kelsey Griffin.
For me, I think it was kind of what I talked about with the keys to the game for Melbourne in the beginning. You look at these areas where there was big discrepancies in the 4 prior matches where Southside won every time. It was the foul count. So, excuse me, the free throws. So Melbourne shot 28 free throws compared to Southside's 11. And then the turnovers, points off turnovers, completely flipped the script. So Melbourne's defense actually allowed them to get 22 points off turnovers, where they weren't sometimes not even getting into the double digits. And then Southside, conversely, only had 15. But also, one thing I wasn't expecting that was really impressive to see was the bench point production from Melbourne. And I think that was actually a real unsung hero of this game.
Christy Wallace had a tough game one, just 2 points tonight. She had 9 of 15 shooting for 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists and 5 steals. It was a complete performance from Christy, and here she is with Candy Hertz.
Wally, what a response from your team tonight. Finally, that first win over your crosstown rivals. What did you see out there?
Yeah, super proud of our team and how we handled tonight. I thought defensively we played a lot better. But yeah, credit to Southside. They were undermanned tonight, and we're looking forward to the next game.
And what does it mean to you now to keep that season alive and force that third game?
Yeah, we were desperate tonight, and I think that we showed that. So next game, you know, anything can happen.
That hunger was very obvious to everyone watching the game tonight. 27 points for you and that incredible buzzer beater, 3-point halftime. How amazing was that crowd here tonight?
Unbelievable. We have some of the best fans in the league, so we're so happy everyone turned out tonight. And shout out to Leilani for setting that screen on the last play.
Unbelievable effort from you guys. Congratulations. Good luck. Of course, the next game now on Wednesday night. What do you need to do to prepare?
Yeah, lots of rest, recovery, but also we just need to be desperate like we were tonight.
Well, it was great to see you back in form tonight, and we hope to see you again on Wednesday.
Thanks very much.
Game 2 was every bit as passionate and as explosive as we thought it might be. In the end, the Boomers keep their season alive with a 19-point win. Melbourne 96, Southside 77. It sets the table for Game 3. Melbourne Boomers keep their championship defence alive until at least Wednesday night when they will face Southside in Game 3 of this series. It was Game 1 Southside. Tonight, the Boomers responded superbly. They jumped out of the blocks, they made the early running, and really the Flyers challenged a couple of times, but Mark, the Boomers had the stability to just do the right thing at the right time, close Southside out, and in the end, a comfortable win.
They really did, and kept all streams of offence going, so they were able to get a stack of points off turnovers.
So that just shows the impact that she can have and the trust they have as a group to get things done together.
Speaking of efficiency, the Boomers actually ended up with 2 less shots and won the game by 19 points. Mark, what does that mean?
Well, it's the execution. So it's the reaction time advantages to get out and get on the rim, and I thought they did a terrific job of that. But then having patience and executing in the half court to get, clean looks at the basket for Kayla George, clean looks at the basket for Christy Wallace, and then on the move and in time and in space, the shot quality goes up because the execution is there.
We know Kayla Thornton may or may not be back in Game 3. The rolled ankle, she did everything she could to try and get up for tonight, had a fitness test before the game, wasn't successful. So all the planning is going to be on both sides around Kayla being there or not being there as we take a look at the overall numbers. George, Wallace, Mitchell, their big three combining for 73 of their 96 points tonight. And when the Boomers can get rolling like that, they are a very, very difficult team to stop. So it sets things up magnificently, doesn't it, for Game 3 Wednesday night right here on ESPN, and KO will return to the State Basketball Centre, so home turf for the Southside Flyers, which has been a home court for the Boomers for the last 5 or 6 years, so they'll have no fear at all going to Warren Turner South. You'll see that game live right here on ESPN, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN and KO. The other game, the other semi-final series rather, Perth and Townsville. Game 2 coming up tomorrow night in Perth. Townsville on a record 13-game winning streak. They're 1 up in the series after a 13-point win in Game 1. Perth now with the do-or-die clash in front of their home crowd. Game 2 tomorrow from 3:30 local, 6:30 Eastern. Lynx and the Fire right here on ESPN and KO. Final thoughts, Kelsey Griffin, Mark Alabakoff. Let's start with the Boomers. What do they take out of tonight?
I think they take that they've got a game plan that really works. And if they can control the pace of the game, turnovers, they're in for a real good shot to go to the grand final.
And Mark, from a Southside perspective, what do they learn?
Well, you get a chance to be able to adjust for whether Kayla Thornton's going to be there or not. And I don't think they had that opportunity tonight. They were caught by surprise and had to try and make it up on the fly and win.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of Game 2 action from the Boombox. Saturday night basketball here on your home of hoops. Melbourne levelling up the series, 1 game apiece. On behalf of Kelsey Griffin, Mark Alabakoff, Candy Hertz, our entire production